Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and rule well and teach well. Peace and salutation unto the elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And in this video, I'm going to be going into an article. All right, and this article is from naturalnews.com, as you can see on the screen. Okay, and the title of the article that you see here up on the screen that I'm going to be going into is called, all right, pro-death leftists call for Supreme Court assassination challenge as libs openly declare war on conservative justices and America. All right, so basically, the leftists, as this article calls, all right, which is basically political term. Okay, you have the whole left wing, right wing thing in this country. All right, well, basically, the leftists slash liberals, okay, in which the Democrats, okay, people who follow the Democratic Party and things like that can also be put into this category as well. They're basically calling for sedition ultimately. And as you can see at the title of this article, they're calling for basically an assassination challenge against those who work in the Supreme Court, as well as against conservatives and so-called right wingers, so to speak, and Republicans and things like that. Okay, and the main thing as of lately that has sparked this type of feud and outrage was the overturning of this whole Roe v. Wade situation. Because these the elites of this society, when they first leaked that whole Roe v. Wade thing, okay, going back about maybe a couple of months ago, sometime in May, I believe. When they first leaked that whole Roe v. Wade thing, all right, and they saw the reaction of the people, once that leak came out, these elites, they knew exactly what they were doing when they had that thing leaked out. Okay, because they ultimately knew that stuff like that would have the masses of the people in uproar. Okay, to the point to where they would want to rebel against their government. Okay, because after all, not to mention, these elites on the left hand side, they have a highly quoted motto within their secret societies, namely the Freemasons, known as what? Order ab chaos, which means, which is Latin for order out of chaos. So they purposely, put stuff like this in the news, okay, and they use the government and the Supreme Court, to do particular things and to pass, certain legislation and things like that. All right, and especially with this whole Biden administration in power, okay, they purposely, do these, make these types of move, to bring forth the order that they need to to bring forth the chaos, Salakia, to bring forth the chaos that they need in order to establish their their new order, okay, their NWO agenda. All right, and as of lately, you can see that they're using this whole Roe v. Wade thing, to further add fuel to the fire, to push society to that point. All right, and that's pretty much what I'm going to be getting into in this lesson. All right, so the title of this article from naturalnews.com: Pro-death leftists call for Supreme Court assassination challenge as libs openly declare war on conservative justices and America. All right, so it says a T gender. All right, you see that word right there. All right, so like a T gender extremist named Eli Ehrlich, founder of. All right, y'all see that right there. founder of T Student Educational Resources, called on its followers to participate in what it calls the Supreme Court Assassination Challenge, following the highest court's recent decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. Okay, which was the decision to make it unconstitutional, federally, for women to abort their to have abortions, basically, to murder their children in mass numbers, to where they basically put it in the hands of the states to decide whether or not they would make their particular states legal or illegal to have abortions. All right, and because of this whole Roe v. Wade thing, you've seen this society all up in uproar. Where you have divisions all over the society. You have a bunch of alphabet people and women all up in uproar because now they can't have these abortions and off their children. And they're forced to be mothers and do what's natural according to their nature as a woman. All right. And here it is. Out of all the things that we see happening in the world, concerning the economy, concerning the gas prices, the food prices, and food shortages and things like that. Out of all these things that we see taking place throughout the world, this is the type of stuff that these women and the rest of these foolish people of this society are protesting in an uproar for, to murder their babies. It says in a now deleted tweet, Ehrlich, who created a graphic called a gender unicorn that explains gender fluidity. All right, and that whole gender fluidity thing, when you look it up, it's all, left hand and witchcraft. All right, and anti-Messiah. It says essentially called for the murder of the Supreme Court justices who decided that the federal government should not, according to the Constitution, be in the business of killing babies. All right, so basically, they're in the uproar. This guy, Ehrlich, Eli Ehrlich, tweeted, made a tweet, I guess some time back, saying that basically the government, the federal government should not, get in between, women being able to murder their babies, So it says, right here, it says, for the past 11 years, Ehrlich and his youth-led organization have been pushing, you see that right there, the T, the T and L, alphabet, all right, the Transformers and Alphabet agenda on primarily public school districts, and we definitely see that being pushed right now through our society as of halfway into 2022. You're seeing these schools allowing these Transformers, to stand in front of the classroom, teaching the children in the classroom, having story time and things like that. Hell, recently over the past week or so, you even had like certain elementary schools or daycares or whatever, taking their children on field trips to alphabet strip clubs and having them watch live performances of Transformers, stripping it in front of the children. So we clearly see that whole alphabet Sodom agenda being pushed heavily upon the children in these latter days, which lets us, as the men of the Lord, know that we're closer and closer to seeing Yahweh Shem Shai destroy this society and delivering us. Lord willing, we be of that number. It says, I'm gonna read that paragraph again. It says, for the past 11 years, Ehrlich and its youth-led organization have been pushing the Transformer and Alphabet agenda, which the Transformer agenda is all is a part of the Alphabet movement. All right, but nonetheless, it says agenda on primarily public school districts, including in the states of Wisconsin, New York, and Texas. TSER supports sweeping structural change to the country. All right, yeah, and part of that change, that quote unquote structural change, as it says right here, is first and foremost doing away with the patriarchy. They want to, because this whole alphabet agenda, as well as this whole feminist agenda, which they both pretty much support each other. At the end of the day, one of their main goals is to push an all-out attack on masculinity, okay, and ultimately do away with patriarchy. Basically turn the children out, turn the children into a bunch of alphabets and anti-messiah, to ultimately stop reproduction. Okay, because let's not forget, these elites on the left hand side, they have written on their Georgia Guidestones that they want to reduce the population of the world down to 500 million. And one of of course, here we see one of the ways that they're going about pushing that left hand commandment. All right, that left hand commandment written on stone is by pushing heavily this alphabet agenda. Okay, turning teaching these children that it's okay to be boys to be with little boys, girls to be with little girls. Boys turning themselves into little girls, girls turning themselves into boys. Okay, and taking away from their nature, which is what? To grow up to be men and women and come together in marriages and reproduce. So it says TSER supports sweeping structural change to the country as opposed to equality, the latter of which supposedly reinforces systems of, all right, it says white, but Edomite supremacy, T-phobia, and injustice. And you notice as of lately, now all of a sudden, there's a so-called big pushback against so-called white supremacy and so-called white supremacists, groups and things like that, in which ultimately, if you're in the spirit, and if you're seeing things, between the lines, so to speak, ultimately when the news media and things like that push this whole so-called anti-white supremacist, white supremacy agenda, as well as speaking out against people that are T-phobia, and speaking out speaking against people that are against all the injustices that are going on all throughout society. That's ultimately Esau trying to make these particular talking points in the news to ultimately come up against the men of the Lord. Because when Esau, in his news media, puts these, so-called white supremacist groups on the spotlight, for example, they usually label them as what? Speaking out against the government, speaking out against the alphabet agenda, speaking out against, feminism, speaking out against, the globalists and the elites and things like that. Okay, and that's ultimately, what the men of Yahweh Shemel Shai are doing in these latter days. Okay, via prophecy, and teaching the scriptures. So this whole white supremacist agenda is really just a covering, to come up against the men of the Lord. Okay, it says I'm gonna read this last paragraph down here. It says almost immediately after the Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization decision was leaked back in May, the pro-abortion, / pro-choice people, it says the pro-abortion crowd has been targeting pro-life offices and crisis pregnancy centers all across America. Yeah, vandalizing all these different pregnancy centers and things like that. Pro-life centers. Okay, spraying, painting, red paint on their doors and whatnot. Setting them on fire. Arson and stuff like that. Okay, which ultimately that all these things are all set up by the government anyway. To cause the chaos and division. You know, and the people that are actually on foot, performing these things, they're ultimately all set up by the CIA and the government and the FBI and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, this is all just Esau, the elites of Esau Edom, trying to bring forth that chaos that they need to establish their left hand order. It says they also staged a night of rage event that was supposed to mimic the George Floyd riots of 2020. Yeah, which that so-called night of rage event was supposed to go down. I believe that was last Friday, if I'm not mistaken, when they when the Supreme Court overturned that Roe v. Wade thing. But of course, nothing really happened that night. You had like a few skirmishes here and there throughout different major cities around the country. Like you had some protesting and things like that happened down there in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, where the riot police had to be called, to de-escalate, all the tensions that was going on that particular night, and as well, a few skirmishes that happened all across, California, last Friday night as well, when that whole Roe v. Wade thing got overturned. But nonetheless, for the most part, that whole night of rage thing, nothing really happened that night. Okay, and here it is, the days leading up to it, all over, Washington D.C. and things like that. You actually had flyers, flyers hanging up on poles, advertising the whole night of rage thing. But here it is, here it is, all those things happen in D.C., the nation's capital itself. But yet you don't see any effort from the government, the CIA, FBI, whatever, to actually find out who is behind putting up those posters, encouraging that whole night of rage thing, because ultimately it was all set up. They wanted that to happen. They wanted that chaos to happen to bring forth their left hand order. All right. But pretty much, and as you keep reading down, it goes into the origins of this whole Eli Ehrlich character, things like that, which you can read that for yourself. I'm not going to continue reading any more in this article. Lord willing, I'll leave this article in the description box for you to read the rest yourself. But nonetheless, as you can see, as we've been reading throughout this article, pretty much, these liberals and these leftists and Democrats and whatnot, they ultimately, want to push rebellion against the government. Okay, they want to push, the people, being against, the government, so to speak, all because they're not, so-called getting their way. All right, and we know ultimately that that's prophesied in the Holy Scriptures about the people, that there will come a point to where the people here in Babylon the Great would ultimately rise up against their own government. Okay, this is 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, and I'm going to start at 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." Yeah, civil war. Okay, an all-out, armed conflict. Okay, between, the citizens of Babylon the Great. All right, you're gonna have, Democrats against Republicans, liberals versus conservatives, race wars, class wars. The rich fighting against the poor coming up against the rich. All right, men versus women. Okay, heterosexuals coming up against the alphabet people. All right, and so on and so forth. One people are going to be fighting against another. It's going to be all out division, all out war. All right, at an all time level. With swords in their hands, like it just said. What is the modern day sword? The gun. Hence why over the past couple of years, since the beginning of this pandemic, all right, going back to early 2020, you've seen gun sales at an all time high, all right, and still are to this very day, because ultimately that's the Lord, getting the people of Babylon the Great, especially mainly these Edomites, because you already know is the main people that are going out and purchasing these guns and ammunition and all these things are Edomites, because that's their blessing, the sword. All right, but the Lord is putting His Spirit on all these people, to buy up guns and stock up on guns and ammunition to fulfill, to fulfill end time prophecy. Okay, especially what I'm reading right here in Second Esdras 15. So it says, verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. All right, now real quick, and brothers have brought this out before, but let's look. But the word sedition, all right, this is off of Google. The definition of the word sedition, it says, I'm gonna highlight it. It says conduct or speech. All right, so it's not just particular act or particular conduct. It can even be a speech, something that you will say or preach. It says conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch. All right, so you see that? So sedition, basically just means, particular act or, particular stunt or particular, talking points that would, influence people to, come up against their government. Their politicians, their senators, their mayors, their governors. All right, and ultimately, the ruler of their land, whether it be a king or a prince or president, prime minister, you name it. Okay, in the scriptures, that's clearly in Bible prophecy in Second Esdras 15 that I just read. And then when you look down at the synonyms, it says provocation, rebellion, okay, revolt, insurrection. The scripture speaks about insurrection. It says rioting. All right, rioting. It says disobedience, resistance, defiance. Yes, you pretty much get the point. So going back to the scripture, Second Esdras 15 verse 16 again, for there shall be sedition among men. Okay, rioting, defiance, insurrection, so on and so forth, right? It says, and invading one another. It says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So there's going to be a point in this society where this government is going to put the squeeze down on people, the people so much to where they're just going to stand up and rebel against them, physically on a carnal level, with swords in their hands, so things are going to get ultra super bloody and violent all throughout this country. All right, and that's exactly again what the elites of this society wants. And that's, ultimately what Yahweh Shema Shai wants. All right, because at the end of the day, it's not, the elites of Esau Edom aren't the end all be all of what goes down in the society. No, it's Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, but, the thing is, Yahweh Shema Shai is just using the elites, to cause up, certain end time prophecies to come to pass in these latter days. It says, verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Yeah, because the cities are going to be too troubled. It's going to be too many things going on throughout the cities across America, to for you to be able to travel in and out. People are going to be fighting and shooting and stabbing against each other. It's going to be too much crime and violence going on. And then, of course, you already know, the when all these things go down, that's when the martial law troops are going to be and the National Guard troops are going to be called in, to de-escalate all these things. And so therefore, what, you're not going to be able to to travel in and out of cities. You basically, wherever you at when all these things are going to go down. Okay, you're pretty much going to be stuck in whatever city or location you're going to be in for some time. It says, verse 18, for because of their pride the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Yep, so there's going to be so much division. So here it is. You're going to have certain people, for example, certain people that are going to have a certain belief about a particular ideology, and then they're going to be living next to another family of people that are going to believe in something totally opposite of their beliefs or ideologies. And so what's going to happen because of that? One people in one house are going to break into that other person's house, that next door neighbor's house, so to speak, and basically they're going to be offing them. Okay, that's how bad things are going to get in the near future. Okay, because of all of this division that we see stirring up in the news. All right, now real quick. Now, what I have up here on the screen, all right, this is from BibleStudyTools.com, and basically what I'm about to read is the same scriptures that I read in 2 Ezra 15, verses 14 to 18, but in a more modern day translation. Okay, and as you can see right here, which is the GNTA translation, which stands for, all right, Good News Translation with the Apocrypha, which is basically like a more modern day, up to date, so to speak, translation of the Apocrypha. Okay, in comparison to the King James version of the Apocrypha, which is modeled after the Old English. Okay, just as you have, the NLT and the CSB and the NIT versions of the regular, King James Bible, that we know of, with the Old and New Testament. Okay, so let's go to 2 Ezra 15. All right, 2 Ezra 15 and 14 in the GNT. It says, the world, it says, the world and the people in it are doomed. Yeah, woe unto the world and them that dwell therein. Roughly paraphrasing it. It says, verse 15, the war that will bring their destruction is very near. Okay, and that war can vary on different levels. Civil wars, the class wars, the race wars. Okay, the gender wars and things like that. And then, of course, we ultimately know, according to prophecy, that the ultimate war of wars is going to be World War III. All right, the Battle of Armageddon, that's going to bring the ultimate destruction to this place, Babylon the Great, America, where this country is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear, hypersonic missiles, and it's going to be turned into a lake of fire. It says, 2 Ezra 15 and 15 in the GNT, the war that will bring their destruction is very near. Nations will arm themselves and fight against other nations. Yeah, and we clearly see that brewing up in the news right now, especially over this whole, Ukraine situation. Because, for you brothers that's been keeping up with the news and current events over the past week, NATO has, basically geared up like over 300,000 troops to basically get ready to fight against the Russians, over that whole Ukraine situation, and and you can pretty much look that up for yourself. I'm not gonna go into it because that's not what this video is about. All right, but you can look into it yourself. Just in case you're not caught up to date with what's going on in geopolitical news. But it says, verse 16 right here, it says there will be great political turmoil. See that? Great political turmoil, with one group trying to overpower another and gain control while ignoring the legitimate government. So you see that? So clear as day right here in the scriptures, it says that there's getting ready to be great political turmoil in the primarily in this country here in America, Babylon the Great. The Democrats versus the Republicans, and vice versa. Liberals versus conservatives. Red states versus blue states. All right. Your people that that support Trump against the people that still support this whole Biden regime. All right, and so on and so forth. There's getting ready to be great political turmoil and division all across this country, and it's going to lead ultimately to civil war. So let me read that again. It says, verse 16, there will be great political turmoil with one group trying to overpower another and gain control. All right, while ignoring the legitimate government. Yeah, these average everyday people across this country, the average everyday working class Edomite, they're going to be trying to overthrow their own government and fight against the National Guard and the martial law troops and things like that, while ignoring their own government, because as it says in the KJV of 2 Ezra 15 and 16 in the KJV, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So these people are going to take it upon themselves, because they're going to realize that the system is not in their best interest, and so therefore, in order for us to in order for them to so-called save their country, so to speak, they're going to have to do it themselves. They're going to they're going to get rid of this corrupt government with their own power. All right, or at least they're going to try to do it. Rather, they're not going to actually accomplish it, but these Edomites are going to come to a tipping point to where they're going to be marching down on Washington by the hundreds and thousands and possibly the millions to literally try to overthrow their own government. And that's right here in Bible prophecy. All right, so let's real quick. Let's go to Isaiah 19 and 2. All right, Isaiah 19, verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. So I can read that again. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight, every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. So, hey, the Lord said that he was going to set Egyptian against Egyptian. And of course, as brothers always bring out, right now we're in the modern day Egypt. Okay, the modern day Egypt, all right, Babylon the Great, known as spiritual Sodom as well as spiritual Egypt, pursuant to Revelations 11 and 8. All right, and being that this is modern day spiritual Sodom in Egypt, who are the modern day Egyptians primarily? These Edomites. So basically, there's going to be, a mass amount of, Edomites coming up, against each other, in an all-out war. the so-called left-wing, Democratic, liberal Edomites fighting against, the so-called right-wing, Republican, patriotic, okay, conservative type Edomites. All right, they shall fight against everyone against his brother. Okay, their fellow member of their nation. One against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Yeah, so these democratic cities, the people of these democratic cities are going to be fighting against Republican cities. All right, red states are going to be fighting against blue states. Okay, and the Lord is going to create, okay, an all-out war in the midst of this modern day Egypt. And just for edification's sake, his brothers always bring up as well, proving who the modern day Egyptians are. Joel 3:19, Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. See that? So clearly, linking Esau, Edom with Egypt. And as it says, Egypt shall be a desolation. Now, when you look at the current land of Egypt right now, is the current physical land of Egypt right now a total desolation? No, of course not. You have people, primarily Ishmael to be exact, but nonetheless you have cities set up all across Egypt, Cairo and things like that. You have a government set up over there in the current state of Egypt right now. They have a military. They have their own laws. Their own religions and so on and so forth. All right. The physical land of Egypt that we see right now is not a desolation, but instead this particular Egypt that is speaking of right here in Joel 3:19 is ultimately talking about America, Babylon the Great. The modern day Egypt as well as the modern day spiritual Sodom. And as it clearly says right afterwards, Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. So showing you that Esau, Edom, the nation of Esau, Edom, are the ones who rule this modern day Egypt. Okay, that's soon gonna be turned into a desolation by the power of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. It says, for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. So and of course, not only is this place going to be made a desolation because of the violence against the children of Judah, okay, the tribe of Judah, so-called Negroes or African Americans, as well as the kingdom of Judah, all right, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which are so-called Negroes in America, or so-called Jamaicans and West Indies, as well as so-called Haitians. Not only is this place going to pay for the violence committed against the so-called Negro tribes, so to speak, but as well the violence that this place has committed against the northern tribes. All right, Gad, Reuben, Issachar, Ephraim, Manasseh, Simeon, all right, and so on and so forth among the rest of the northern tribes. Okay, because they have shed innocent blood in this land. Because ultimately the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel are the ultimate, innocent nation in the sight of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. All right. So from there, let's go to 2 Peter. Oh, and as a matter of fact, let me show y'all this real quick. All right, and this channel right here, two through and info. All right, this is one of the LD Ashawambas from the elder from GMS Dallas. The LD Ashawamba. This is one of his backup pages. Okay, and if so, if you're not subscribed to this channel, definitely subscribe to this channel. All right, but real quick, let me show you this video that he uploaded a couple of days ago, which is gonna further go into the topic of this video. All right, let me play it real quick.
I'm just convinced we need to burn it all down. Because at this point, I don't know what else we're supposed to do. I'm advocating for violence. I am advocating for violence because there are people that are doing a really bad job. But the problem with the job is, even though they're doing such a bad job, they do this job until they die. So we're just supposed to sit back and let these people do a really bad job and have really seriously negative consequences on millions of people. And we're supposed to do what? Sit on the sidelines? Light it on fire. We're lighting it up. I'm just convinced we need.
So you hear that, right? So basically, she's speaking out against, the corruption of this current government. And so she's basically to the point to where she wants to, light everything on fire. She wants to burn everything down and, cause sedition. Okay, and this, and as I showed you from this, the article that I, read earlier from Natural News. Okay, this type of mindset is increasing more and more, amongst the, the liberals, and the so-called leftists of this country. They're pretty much at the brink, at the brink to where, the point to where they want to just basically all out rebel against, this current government. Okay, and this video is just one among many, to prove that mindset is, just about here. Okay. So, let's go to 2 Peter. 2 Peter 2 in verse 9. It says, "The Lord knoweth how to deliver the Slakia." Let me read that again. 2 Peter 2 and 9. "The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished." Yeah, because, all the unjust in the society, which is basically all that are not of the elect of Yahweh Bashim Shai, they're going to receive punishment by the Lord. Okay, but it says, verse 10, it's like it. Verse 10, "But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanliness." All right, yeah, like for example, these alphabet people, and as well, these women who are on the internet crying, all right, and all up in uproars, all because their rights, their constitutional right to murder their babies has now been overturned. Okay, so it says, verse 10, "But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness, and despise government." All right, despise government. It says, "Presumptuous are they, self-willed." Yeah, and these people in this society are definitely self-willed. Okay, all into themselves. With this whole self-love, thing. Which there's nothing wrong with self-love and loving yourself in general. But this whole self-love kick, is all being pushed as witchcraft. To further boost up these people's false sense of pride and false in their egos. Okay, but it says to the point to where you damn near can't tell them nothing. You can't correct them. Okay, you can't point out certain flaws in them that you tell them that they should kind of tune up on. Okay, when you point those things out, they basically buck up against you to the point to where they want to fight you. But it says, "Presumptuous are they, self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities." All right, now when you look up this word dignities, all right, let's look it up real quick. When you look up this word dignities, we'll let this play real quick. Hopefully it's not too loud.
Strong's G 1391. Doxa. Doxa.
All right. It says opinion, judgment, view. All right. Opinion, estimate whether good or bad concerning someone. All right. So yeah. So they're so self-willed. The people of this world. To the point to where they're pretty much in the mindset of despising their government. Coming up against their government. All right, and then especially the government of Yahweh Shema Shai, which is what Yahweh Shai, being the head of the kingdom of heaven, and then as well the 144,000, the tabernacle of David being the governing body under Yahweh Shai. Okay, that's ultimately the main government that the people of this world ultimately despise. Okay, but where it says at the latter end of verse 10, presumptuous are they, self-willed, they are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. Okay, as I just showed you, that word dignities goes into opinions, views, judgment, and so things like that. So these people of the of this world, especially those that are pro-abortion, pro-choice, liberals, and things like that, so-called pro-democratic, stuff like that. They're not afraid to speak evil against any and everybody that has an opinion or a view that that is against theirs. You may you might be having a conversation, let's say with a chick, all right, and you express your views against feminism, and your views against the whole alphabet agenda, your views against women being able to have abortions, and she'll be damn near ready to curse you out, or throw a drink on you, throw a drink right in your face, all because you simply have an opinion against something that she agrees with. You basically she'll get pissed off at you, all because you simply disagree with something. All right, not the fact that if somebody does something against what you believe, that you're gonna actually carry out a judgment against that particular individual. No, just simply all because you disagree with them. Well, that's the people of this world, according to what I just read right here in verse 10. They are not afraid to speak evil against dignities. They're not they're not afraid to speak evil against someone who disagrees with what they believe. Okay, somebody disagrees with them being able to murder their children. What did they do? They'll vandalize your workspace or your home. They'll set it on fire. They're paint red paint on your spot. Which is to symbolize blood. Okay, and all these different things. Okay, they're boldly. They're basically like a bunch of bullies, basically. All right, and so that's why ultimately Yahweh Shema Shai has to put a stop to this world. To the wickedness of this world, because we clearly see the direction that it's going, and it's not going in a direction that the men of the Lord are going to be able to going to be able to dwell in. Okay, we ultimately just need salvation at the end of the day, because this world has gone far too left. All right, so let's get a few more scriptures. Then after that, I'm gonna end this off. All right, Matthew 12 and 25. Let's get a few words from Yahweh Shai. All right, Matthew 12 verse 25. And Yahweh Shai knew their thoughts, and said unto them, Salakia. And Yahweh Shai knew their thoughts, and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Yeah, and as I read earlier in Joel 3, where it talks about Egypt being a desolation, and Edom being a desolate wilderness, well, what's going to be one of the main things that's going to make this modern day Egypt brought to desolation? Okay, as Yahushua just said, division. Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. It says, "In every city or house divided against itself shall not stand." Okay, now as brothers have been bringing out as of recent, when you read this verse in the NLT, Matthew 12:25 in the NLT, Yahushua knew their thoughts and replied, "Any kingdom divided by civil war is doomed. A town or family splintered by feuding will fall apart." So you see that? So any kingdom, country, nation, empire, etc., that has a civil war within it, okay, is ultimately doomed. It shall not stand. It's going to be brought to desolation, from within. And that's exactly what's getting ready to happen to this place, America. Okay, it's going to be all out civil war, all out division, which, there's already all out division right now. But, all that division is ultimately going to lead to, civil war and civil, infightings. You're going to have certain states trying to, secede from the United States, such as Texas, for example. And I believe I came across this maybe a few weeks ago. I believe even the state of New Hampshire, if I'm not mistaken, is also in the talks of seceding from the United States. Okay, but nonetheless, all these things just show the amounts of division that's taking place in this country. All right, and it's all showing us the hopeful elect of the Lord that have the eye salve, that can see what's really and truly going on. That this place, this society is getting ready to fall apart, and as it should, for righteousness' sake, as well as for prophecy's sake. All right, so let's get a few more, and then after that, end this off. Let's go to 2nd Ezra 16. All right, 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 68. It says, "For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you." Yeah, we know ultimately that this great multitude that's burning in wrath is talking about this government. Okay, but because as it says in Revelation 12:12, as a matter of fact, let's get there real quick. Revelation 12, verse 12. "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them." All right, which includes the elect. It says, "Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath." You see that? Great wrath, the burning wrath of a great multitude. It says, "having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time left." Yep, and that's why these devils are operating in Operation Warp Speed. You have guys like Klaus Schwab and all the people that were at that recent World Economic Forum. They're basically talking about speeding up, basically speeding up the process. Speeding up the process to to issue forth this great this great R set. Okay, this the NWO agenda, which is ultimately going to lead to that charagma, one world digital currency, okay, where all your transactions and things like that are all going to be tracked and traced. All right, and all those things are going to be tracked and traced on that charagma, the Revelation 13 and 16. Okay, but nonetheless, 2nd Ezra 16 and 68 again. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you, and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. Yeah, and we as the hopeful elect, this this great multitude that's burning in wrath, which is this government of Esau Edom. Okay, is going to they're going to be casting some of us into prison. Just as Yahushua said in Revelation 2:10, for the devil shall cast you into prison for 10 days. Okay, but he also commanded us in that verse, to be faithful unto death. All right, and that he will give us, the crown of life. But here in this 68th verse, it kind of tells us what's going to be happening. To those of us that's going to be cast into these different prisons, these concentration camps. Okay, these devils, these martial law troops, and these and so on and so forth. They're going to be trying to offer up things, offer up unto idols unto us, which is ultimately going to be what that the jab, okay, as well as the the juicer shots, and ultimately that karagma. But it says, verse 69, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision, and in reproach, and trodden underfoot. Yes, so those of our people that's going to ultimately, give into this system, all right, and bow the knee to the image of this beast system, they're going to be had in derision. Okay, those of our people that's going to take that karagma, they're going to be had in derision and in a reproach, because ultimately, the ones of our people that's going to worship the image of this beast system, as well as receive that karagma, they're going to receive that grievous sore that's spoken of in Revelation 16:2. And then, they're ultimately going to be trodden underfoot, whether it be, being put to death by way of the sword, or, dying from some type of sickness or disease, or some type of malfunction that's going to take place, once they receive that jab or the karagma, or, just ultimately the Lord is going to preserve them until, the missiles hit this place. Okay, but nonetheless, the ones of our people that's going to give into the system and take the karagma, they're going to be in bad case when that time comes. So verse 70, and for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So you see that? So there's going to be a great insurrection or sedition, as I showed you earlier in the definition of the word sedition. There's going to be a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord, against the men of the Lord, the men that's been standing on the highways and the byways, okay, for years, week in and week out throughout the four corners of the earth, preaching this word and preaching this gospel, okay, and speaking the end of this system into existence, all right, and calling out the man of sin, spoken of in 2 Thessalonians 2. Okay, we're ultimately going to be, persecuted for, this testimony that we have. Okay, in the things that we prophesy in the society, we're going to be faced, with great testimony from, Salaki, we're going to be faced with a great persecution from the left-hand side because of this sacrifice that we're making, under Yahushua's sacrifice, of course. It says, verse 71, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. So, they're going to get some of us, they're going to be able to get their hands on some of us, but ultimately, the Lord is going to have it to where they're not going to get their hands on all of us that are of the hopeful elect, because we know, according to Isaiah 59:19, when the enemy is going to come in like a flood, all right, that's when the Lord, that's when we're going to fear the name of the Lord from the west, like it says in that verse, And then, what's going to happen after that? That's when the Lord is going to lift up that standard against, all right, our enemies and for us. Okay. So it says, verse 72, for they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. All right. Cast them into prison. It says, then, verse 73, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Yep. So it's going to be at this point when this devil is going to, heavily persecute the church, heavily persecute those of us that are of the hopeful elect, especially those of us that are of the tabernacle of David. All right. When this devil, makes a move after us, all right, that's when the Lord says, then it's going to be made known who are his chosen, who he's true, really and truly dealing with, all right, and who he's, written before the foundation of the earth to receive the victory over this devil in his beast system, as well as his charagma, okay, and the Lord is going to make that known in, many, miraculous ways. Certain brothers that, when this come to pass, they're going to receive, spiritual powers. Okay. The Archangel Michael is going to stand up and defend them. Okay. You're going to have, chariots hovering over certain brothers, performing, certain miracles, or, however the Lord is going to, perform his miracles for his elect when these times come. All right. But nonetheless, when this devil comes down with that great wrath, burning wrath, like it says in verse 68, that's when the Lord is going to make it known who his chosen are and who he's been dealing with the whole time in this truth. So it says, verse 74, hear, O ye my beloved, all right, my beloved, Dawadah, the house of Dawadah, or the tabernacle of Dawadah, David. It says, hear, O ye my beloved, saith the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand. Yeah, the time of Jacob's trouble. But I will deliver you from the same. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is your guide. And, that's ultimately what we're praying for as, this society is getting ready to, as the people of this society are getting ready to lose their goddamn minds, all right, and rebel against their government and bring forth, the chaos that their elites, that rule over this society are trying to set up, in order to establish their NWO agenda. But, in the midst of all of that, the Lord, reminds us in the scriptures that he's going to save us when, things get real bad, and that he's going to be with us and guide us, okay, the whole entire time when the time of Jacob's trouble hit. All right. So, Lord willing, this video was edifying, even though it was kind of lengthy. And also, Lord willing, I'll leave this article, the link to this article, in the description box for you to check it out on your for yourself, and maybe even do your own video on it or whatnot. All right. But with that being said, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostle and elders, the great millstone and rule well and teach well. And peace and salutations unto the elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Until next time, shalom.